thank you, Pat, for the recognition of the IEEE Power and Energy Society. We'll keep up the good work that Will Kling started for us. And I would like to conclude the first part of our opening ceremony by inviting the IEEE Power and Energy Society President, Professor Miroslav Begovic, to take the floor and welcome you on behalf of the IEEE PES. Professor Begovic, you have the floor.
Mrs. Kling, esteemed colleagues, members of the steering committee, Professor Vurnas, Professor Nucci, Professor Milanovic, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to 2015 edition of Powertech Conference. And I would like to say a few words about Professor Kling myself. I did not know him personally, although we must have met at many conferences over the years. But I was shocked when I received the news of his passing a few months ago. And from the flood of his friends' emails, I felt almost that I've known him. And I felt loss even though he was not the person who was my personal friend. Because I felt that I've known a lot about how he worked and how he befriended and earned the love of the people who have felt so well about him. A few months ago, I have met a colleague who assumed a department position of a department head at Northeastern University, and we talked about her work. And she told me, I consider myself a successful person if I disappear today and for 6 months no one notices. The department operates well. It seems that Professor Kling has accomplished exactly that. The conference preparation that he was leading went without a glitch when he was removed from that process. And it is not that that his absence is not noticed. It is that he has organized it so well that we are here today to celebrate the beginning of what is probably the biggest conference that is organized in a long time. So we owe him the depth of gratitude, and I'm happy to be here to acknowledge that, but sad with all of you that we cannot do that in person. I would like to say a few words about the conference and the state of affairs that is making it important. I will show you a few graphs, and if I run quickly across them, please forgive me, I'm trying not to take too much time. But top 7 materials produced in the world are taking no less than 10% of global energy. We live in the world where energy is becoming an extremely important commodity. The energy problem is huge and requires a lot of concerted work by a lot of parties. So that's not the only problem, of course. This slide I like to show because I ran across it relatively recently. If we took all of the water, underground surface water on our planet, and put it in a sphere, it would have 800 kilometers in diameter, and it would look approximately like what we see on this slide. So that's another precious commodity that we have on our planet. Our interaction depends on many infrastructures: transportation, electric power, water supply, wastewater disposal, telecommunications. And it is continuously being disrupted by climate and its changes, by hazards, by demographic changes, scarcity of resources, financial constraints, and natural environment in general. Electric power seems to be driving many of those infrastructures at the same time and is quite important, and I wouldn't dare saying is the most important, but definitely not the one to be ignored. So considering the climate change situation, we have some options ahead of us. The so-called 2-degree option is a vision of a sustainable energy system with reduced greenhouse gas emissions. And that scenario is, at the present time, more of a wishful thinking. The 4-degree scenario is reflecting the pledges made by countries to cut emissions and boost energy efficiency, and it offers a trade-off between doing nothing and accomplishing the goal that we would like to have, to disrupt the life on the planet as little as we can. Where 6 degrees scenario is where we are headed right now without making any major changes, and it leads to quite devastating results. 40% of all carbon dioxide released since 1750 is still in the atmosphere, and the remainder is trapped in the oceans whose acidity has been increasing because of that. Even if the temperature increase is less than 2 degrees, we will see a disappearance of Arctic ice caps, we will see droughts spread through the subtropics, we will see heat waves, and some of that we are experiencing already. At the business as usual scenario, at 5 to 6 degrees of temperature increase, we are expecting global average temperatures to be higher than they have been in 50 million years. The Arctic would be ice-free all year round, and the life as we know it would be very different. So changes are happening, and I would like to just briefly show you one result of a recent research that has been done at Arizona State University, where a distribution feeder has been replaced by a combination of a solar photovoltaic system and a gas turbine. And combining the two, and look at the horizontal axis here as days of the year, and vertical axis on both slides as the energy hour of the day, and the color-coded energy levels, you can recognize that the upper one represents the solar photovoltaic system, which in Arizona works quite well, and the fill-in of the gas turbine makes for the complete satisfaction of the load requirements. The good thing is coal is not used, gas has about half of the carbon dioxide impact that the coal does, and solar, of course, doesn't have any, nearly any, if we don't count manufacturing. So that's where we're headed, microgrids and microturbines and PV arrays. But we shouldn't forget that solar PV at the present represents less than 1% of total energy portfolio. The entire renewable portfolio is about 22%, and mostly thanks to hydropower. So we have a long way to go, and we have a lot of problems to change. The growth of renewables is shown here. Solar PV has the largest rate of growth in the last several years, but on such a small base that we are yet to see the impact of those changes. When we look at the countries, many of European countries are the trailblazers in introduction of PV, Germany leading the pack, and then Italy and Spain and France, United Kingdom and Belgium are on the list of the countries with highest level of installed PV capacity and the highest rate of change. Same applies to wind. Besides China and United States, which are the largest producers, again, Germany, Spain, United Kingdom, Italy, France, and Denmark are leading in introducing new capacity. On the other hand, we cannot do away with nuclear energy, and the capacities that are installed in Europe are shown here, and the size of the circles represents the relative capacities. Germany has voted some time ago to do away with its reserve of nuclear capacity, and then voted down that proposal, and after Fukushima disaster voted it in again. Even Switzerland with 40% nuclear capacity is doing the same thing. Unfortunately, I don't see that we can easily do away with it, especially looking at places like France, which has well over 3/4 of its capacity in nuclear, and at least it doesn't have greenhouse gases, and it makes it more important for us to look into the safety aspects of nuclear, which we have to live with for a while. But looking at the beautiful vision of Desertec, where renewables would be spread across Northern Africa, Middle East, and provide energy all across Europe, unfortunately, it will be quite a while before we see that dream happen in reality. So we have some time to go, and those changes are yet to be introduced. Among important related issues in Europe that I would like to mention at this conference are some listed here use, for example, of DC or hybrid AC-DC technologies in both transmission and in distribution network. And important work yet to be done on smart cities, where 80% of European GDP is produced, where currently 2/3 of the European population live, and 85% is expected to live by 2050, which is consuming 70% of European energy, which is producing 3/4 of greenhouse gas emissions. Development of microgrids, development of virtual power plants to support renewables, and finding ways of learning and analyzing multiple interacting infrastructures, including electricity, different fuels, heat, cooling, transport, water, waste, information technology. It is an important duty in front of all of us. And of course, to enable it all, studying regulation and policy interventions that are needed. Sustainable power and energy is another important goal, developing energy storage technologies and learning how they interact with renewables, how to complement them with demand response programs, electrifying heating and transportation, providing for reliable, secure, and resilient grid operation, and finding economical ways to efficiently deliver energy. Those are but some of the goals about which I'm sure we'll hear more at this conference. The society that I have the honor of presiding over, IEEE Power and Energy Society, is the second largest in the family of 39 IEEE societies. We have about 34,000 people. We operate in multiple ways to contribute to the interests and needs of our members, many of which are in Europe. We have an extensive publication activity. We are operating with well over 200 chapters around the world. We are organizing over 40 conferences, co-sponsored or fully sponsored by our society, and we have extensive educational programs. We are a non-profit organization, and we are investing all of the revenue that is generated by these activities back into the values that go back to our members. This conference is one of those activities, and I'm very happy to see that it has attracted the largest number ever of the attendees, approaching 700, and I'm sure it's going to be exceeded by the end of the conference. I hope that all of you will find it useful, and that you will go back to your homes enriched with the knowledge and experience, and perhaps some of the human interactions that you will have a chance to make during the conference. So with those words, I hope that we will have in the next 3 days very successful interactions, and I wish you good presentations, good time in Eindhoven, and thanks to our hosts and the local committee for a wonderful job that they have done to organize this conference and make it all pleasant and useful for us to be here. Thank you and good conference.